Alright folks, today I'm here once again to bring you my thoughts on The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 3, Episodes 2 and 3. Now, to preface this video, I have to be real and let you know this is going to be less of a review and more of a rant, I suppose, as if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, I have next to no interest with the story going on so far this season. Most of you probably already know this, but I don't enjoy being negative in these reviews. I want to love everything The Walking Dead puts out, but if I'm not honest with my feelings, there's really no point in giving them. I have found myself extremely bored throughout this season, and the reason I didn't post a dedicated review for episode 2 last week is because I just didn't really have much to say about it, and sure enough, I'm feeling almost the exact same way about episode 3. I'm starting to sound like a bit of a broken record here, as I pretty much say the same thing in every review. I love the cinematography, love the setting, and love the cultural influences, but pretty much everything else is a resounding meh for me. What we are seeing isn't anything new. A corrupt regime is oppressing smaller communities. It's the same song and dance we've seen for a decade now, just with a different coat of paint. I mentioned in my episode 1 review how cool I thought those Skull guys were, and how worried I was that Alcazar would become another Pavor, yet here we are 3 episodes in without even a mention of them since the premiere, while Alcazar has become exactly what I worried about. I know they'll show up sooner or later, but as of now, they're basically all I care to learn more about, which is hilarious considering they only had one scene. The whole setup of this Solaz Del Mar community is just bizarre to me in general. Essentially, the leader of Alcazar, who calls himself the new King of Spain, holds settlements across the country under his grasp by providing essential resources and protection in exchange for women. Yeah, I don't know. I just find this weird all around. It's supposed to be a power flex and a method to control the population, but it comes off as nonsensical to me. I just don't really understand how this town hasn't become self-sufficient at this point, given we're 15 years into the outbreak. I think it could make sense if the Skull guys were responsible for hunting all the wildlife in the area, but as of now, that's just speculation from what I remember. The sacrificing of women to the King of Spain is a pretty disturbing concept, but with that said, it's not something that's making me excited to see this plotline progress. Again, Alcazar is a corrupt regime taking advantage of the little guy. It's a done-to-death concept that doesn't just become fresh because you swapped out offering resources to your oppressors for offering people instead. I find Carol and Daryl's role in the story completely off as well. On one hand, Carol, for some reason, is fully invested in this community and feels the need to insert herself into their conflicts and liberate the people, despite the people seemingly not wanting conflict of any sorts, while Daryl is on a one-track mind to rebuild the boat with little to no care for anything else. There was a scene that made me laugh where Carol was showing concern over how things work here and a civilian named Alba who was taken, and Daryl was just straight up like, "Who the F is Alba?" before taking off for the whole episode. Man, if Daryl doesn't give a shit about the characters here or their problems, why should I? Why does Carol? The entire planet is beyond screwed, so I just don't understand the need to fix things here specifically. I don't know, so far this season, it's just felt like Carol and Daryl are instigating a conflict they don't really have any stake in, which I just find dumb. I also find very little interest in Carol's new relationship. It's just like, why? We spent 3 seasons building up Carol and Ezekiel just for that to come crashing down, so what is the benefit of giving Carol another love interest? We all know he's gonna die before the end of the season, so it just feels like a cheap attempt to crush her all over again. The new characters in general just aren't really doing it for me this season either. The last 5 seasons of these spin-offs have conditioned me to expect most of them to die soon, so growing attached to any of them is nearly impossible. And B, much like the French characters, especially Cadron, we know most, if not all of the survivors will probably be discarded once the journey in Spain wraps up. I just can't really bring myself to care about the relationships between characters I know won't be relevant or probably even alive after this stretch of the show. Although, I will say, I did like the idea of the one girl sacrificing herself out of guilt as her uncle had been sending other girls away in her stead. It's an interesting decision by the character in an otherwise underwhelming arc, but I like to be fair and point out things I do think work. What I feel conflicted on, however, is the Jeffrey Grimes Easter egg. Listen, I get they could bring Jeffrey into the story, just like how they could make Daryl grow wings if they wanted, but that doesn't mean they should, at least in my opinion. If this line was just meant to be an Easter egg and not an actual in-universe reference to Rick's brother, I'm okay with it. But if they're actually trying to bring Jeffrey into the fold here, I'm gonna be upset. We've never heard of Rick having a brother in the TV series. He's mentioned his cousin getting stuck on the highway back in season 2, but never a brother. To have Daryl and Carol stumble upon Rick's never-before-mentioned brother on the other side of the world 15 years post-Outbreak would be the most contrived moment of the entire franchise, and I just hate everything about it, so I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope this was nothing more than an Easter egg. Interestingly, we did get another PPP reference in this episode, which is one of those story elements I have no explanation for. I used to just assume the PPP card in Season 7 was an early version of what the CRM symbol became, but then it appeared again in Tales, and now for a third time in Daryl Dixon. At this point, I don't think they actually know what it means either. I think they've periodically brought it back to spark conversation among the fanbase, but don't actually intend to give it an explanation. I mean, it's been 10 years, and all we know about PPP is that it means something. That's literally nothing to go on, so unless they start featuring it with a little context, I don't even really have any theories for what it could be. Although I am curious to hear what you guys think about it and what it could mean. Overall, I find myself caring about the Daryl show less and less as it goes on. And admittedly, I think that does have something to do with knowing the show is already coming to an end. Season 4 is the final season, and the more I think about it, the more I realize I'm pretty much just waiting for a Rick and Daryl reunion. I know some of you guys are enjoying the season, which is totally fine. You know, my words aren't gospel. But I just don't think this show's for me, which feels crazy to say. I haven't really had fun watching it since season 1, and honestly, I think that's okay. I don't have to love everything they do while still remaining a fan. I just hope we're given more substance in the story before the show wraps up. Now, if I'm being 100% real, I'm not sure if I really want to post weekly reviews for this season outside of maybe the finale. I think it is good to document my thoughts as the franchise goes on, but again, I just don't really have much new to say, which I think makes for a pretty lame viewing experience for you guys. So I guess I'll leave that up to you. Do you want me to continue reviewing this series episode by episode despite not enjoying it, or would you rather see me focus on doing what I do best by exploring the lore through my traditional videos? I'm a little torn on what to do because, you know, it's hard to keep the dead alive when you're putting down everything new that comes out, but honesty is key, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But that is gonna do it for me today, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching.